side of the ruins. Now go north here and walk over to the left side for another scene. Nothing will happen at first, but after you wait just a little bit, eventually it'll start up. After receiving the map, try to leave and you'll get another small amount of dialogue. You want to make sure that you tell Jean that you're going to go alone, and once you do, you can exit out. You'll be in the bar storage room, and make sure that you remember, of course, where this location is, because we'll have to come back here a couple of times later. Once back in the city of Kefin, head down underground. That south tower that we had visited earlier on, that we couldn't get in, is now accessible to us, and that's where we're going to have to head. I do even get lost a little bit myself and accidentally go to the east part instead of heading to the south part, so unfortunately you'll have to watch me walk around for a moment. After arriving at the Kefin South Tower, walk around and now go through the main entrance. As you can see, the soldiers are no longer here, though they do arrive a few seconds late. Once inside of the South Tower, look at the statue to the left and you'll find yourself a fire element. Go north through the center opening and you'll find a giant chest containing the heal ring. Like the other rings, this one, while equipped, will heal you. Now be very careful of the soldiers in this area. While for the most part they're similar, they now have crossbows, or at least a few of them have crossbows. So you'll have to avoid the crossbow bolts that they're going to try to shoot at you. Be sure to grab the water element from the chest north, and then finally head through the left archway and go up the staircase. When you arrive at the second floor, there's going to be an archer as well as a treasure chest on that left side. Now this chest, unlike some of the other ones we've gathered so far, is a pretty important one, as this one will contain the ISO shield, which is one of the best shields in the game. Our goal is actually going to be collecting all of the ISOS equipment, so each time we end up picking up one, you want to make sure that you end up equipping it. As you can see, it definitely increases our total stats. After equipping our brand new shield, head south through the archway, take out a couple of those archer enemies, and then head up the staircase that you can see just south of me. Now when you arrive on this floor, head south, take out the regular soldier, then take out the archer just to the left. As you can see, the archers have red armor on, whereas the regular ones are wearing the more yellow equipment. Be sure to look at the giant dragon emblem in the lower right corner in order to pick up another earth element. Then head up the stairs. Now when you arrive here, you're going to hit a switch, as you can see. When you hit this switch though, the hole will open up, but also open up the gate just south of us. You'll land at the second floor, and when you do, immediately start hitting the attack button. If you time it right, or if you just get lucky, you should be able to either knock the archer away, or he won't spawn directly where you land, so you don't take any damage while landing there. Just head up the previous staircase, watch out for the enemies that of course have respawned, and head up the staircase back to the 4th floor. Once back on the 4th floor, avoid the pit that we previously fell down by hitting a switch, and you actually can fall down it again if you wish, and head south through the gate that we opened up by hitting that switch. Couple of soldiers and another staircase. When up here, it's a little bit of a close-quartered area with a couple of enemy soldiers, as well as a door just above. As soon as you open the door, there's another guy waiting for you, so take him out and add up the next one. You'll arrive at the 6th floor, and it's time to get ready for another boss fight. Now this boss is a little bit sporadic. As the battle begins, they'll teleport to another random spot here. When they appear, immediately run over and attack him a couple of times. They'll start floating around the room, and when I attack them, they'll drop down. Now the key here, though, is they'll use fire breath to try to directly attack you. However, stand just slightly off to the side, not directly of course in front of the enemy, and just keep attacking. We have some pretty good powerful equipment at this point in levels, so this boss goes down really fast. Now we just have to leave the South Tower altogether. So, just work your way through. You can use actually that pit as a little bit of a shortcut, and eventually you'll arrive outside. After the brief dialogue, head back down underground. We're going to be going to another area now, the west area of the underground ruins. To get there, from that left entrance from the South Tower, we're just going to work our way around to the upper left corner here and head up a staircase. Now this west area is relatively important, as we'll have a couple of things here, including the house on the left side. After the scene at Orwell's house and you've exited back out, walk over to the right and now head north up this path. This will take you to a slightly different area of the underground northwest. Walk along the path watching out for the blobs and head up this area and up a straight going staircase. Now you'll be at the underground facility. This weird laboratory-like place is one of the more unique looking areas of the game. Work your way around and head into the secret base lower floor through the staircase on the left side. Once down here, head to the right and south and up a small staircase to the right. After another scene at Orwell's house, go to your items and be sure to equip the new key that we just got. Now head back underground using the lower right entrance. Our goal while now back underground is to head to those switch rooms that I have mentioned earlier. There is 4 of them in total, 1 in each of the 4 corners of the ruins area. And you can complete them in any order. Now we're going to start off with the southwest one, go up to the pillar in the upper left corner and pick up the dark element. Then head south. Go to the front and you'll flip the switch off, and when you do, one of these wizard guys will appear, similar to the one we fought earlier on in the game, and just like him, every time you deliver a hit to him, he will disappear and reappear somewhere else. The problem is the area is pretty large, and it can sometimes take a few seconds in order to travel the entire length of the area in order to get to him. This will cause him to, of course, attack, and when they attack, they start with a stream of meteors that will just keep raining down upon you until you're able to finally deliver a hit to the enemy. Other than being able to kind of guess wherever he's going to spawn, there isn't a whole lot of strategy to these fights. Once you're able to defeat the guy though, the door that you entered from will open back up and you can head back down underground. From here we're going to be heading to the northwest area and go to the northwest gate. Once you arrive in the area, there is a treasure chest in the upper left corner that's very important. It contains the Isos blade. Now this is the actual weapon that we're going to be using for the remainder of the game, so be sure to of course equip it before hitting the switch and fighting another one of these wizard guys. While he may look slightly different, the fight is the exact same as we just dealt with. However, with our new sword, it shouldn't take too many stabs with it in order to take this guy out. You can also notice that with this blade we're now doing the stabbing motion once again, so it's kind of cool though that some of the swords have different functions, whether it be the swipe or the stab. From there, we're now going to head back underground and head into the northeast in order to hit another one of the switches. Now, if you had wanted to at any point, you could have actually traveled to that switch room and picked up the Isos blade at any point when you've made it to the underground area of Kefin. I just choose to pick it up when I make it to that northwest room in order to hit that switch. Just like we've done in all the previous areas so far, hit the switch in the upper right corner and then start battling another one of the wizard guys. Once he's done, the door opens back up, underground we go once again, and it's time to complete the area by going into the southeast and hitting the final switch. Now this of course is the area that we had already went to previously by accident, but I showed it off. What you want to do in order to get up is you have to go to the left, jump across this small gap, and then jump up here. Be sure to open up the chest here as it does contain the Isos armor. Now we have our complete set of equipment that we're going to be using for the remainder. Then we're going to hit the switch and, well, can you guess what's going to happen next? Yep, another one of those wizards will appear. This one, thankfully, is the final one that we have to battle in the game. Once the wizard has been defeated, head underground and head back to Kefin town through whatever way you would like to, and head back to the bar and go through the bar storage room. After the scene inside of the Kefin pub, you'll be back outside in Kefin City. You can buy anything you would like to, including some items, but we're going to be heading back on your ground, and now you want to go back to the west area. Once you arrive here, just head north and head into the facility in the upper right corner. Now, when we had first come down here and traveled to this place earlier on, there was actually a door that was locked in the upper right corner before we headed to the basement. That is now unlocked and we'll be able to go through. Once you've gone through the door, you'll now be in the west wing area of the underground facility. Now, once here, there are some new enemies, well, some more improved soldier enemies. They now throw spears at you, so be careful of them. Since we actually are very close to nearing the end of the game, I'm really just going to kind of focus on a few that may get directly in my path, but won't take out too many more enemies. Head through this door, and now you'll be in this weird area. When you step on the carpet itself, automatically you'll see rocks fall. What you want to do is use your jumping ability to go up to the top and then jump across to the actual entrance to the door. If you try to just walk along that, you're going to get hit by the rocks and they do a ton of damage. After the scene, and you have control Adol again, head back into the Kefin bar and back out into Kefin town itself. Now this is going to be our last opportunity to buy any items in the game, so if you would like to replenish anything you may have used at this point, now would be the time to do so. Head inside of the inn and talk to Orwell, who is on the right side of the bar. After what I think is one of the cooler scenes in the game, we're going to head up north here and jump over to the right side and now work our way along the path north. We'll now be in the secret base lower floor. From here, we're going to work our way around and head down the staircase just to the right. Now this is actually the final dungeon of the game. Work your way around, you'll find some new enemies. Well, more advanced enemies. Those sparkly balls that we first saw in the very first cave of the entire game are back, so when you hit them, of course, they'll sparkle for a few seconds. If you run into that, you'll end up taking damage. For the most part, the other enemies we're going to be dealing with, though, are the soldier-like enemies with the spears. These guys can be a little bit of a nuisance, of course, especially if there's multiple of them. Now, in the lower left corner here on this box is the Isos ring. Now, I'm not going to be using this, but I want to show what it does. It does negate the next 10 hits you take while having it equipped. So it could be potentially useful if you want to use it against the final boss. However, I still prefer to use the power ring. Continue along the staircase and up north and enter through the door. It's time to finally battle Commander Carrion. Now he has a couple of different attacks. A purple-like move that will come flying at you and circle you at points. He has another version of that attached to him that will wave back and forth like a tentacle trying to hit you, as well as his normal dashing in and trying to hit you with his sword swipes. Now he can do a decent amount of damage to you if you let him. The goal of course would be to avoid the direct sword attacks by just moving slightly out of the way whenever he dashes directly towards you, and then get a stab in on the side of him. This is also a pretty good fight to use the Isos ring in case you rather use the power ring for the final boss but also want to try out that Isos ring. This would probably be the fight to do it in. After he's been defeated, go to the left side of the room and head through a different doorway that we didn't take to get here. You'll be in the east wing. Once here, just go south slightly and head to the left. More of the spear throwing soldier guys, so watch out for those and you'll eventually make it to the Grand Hall. Go through the door at the very top of the giant carpet and you'll arrive at the Kefin control room. After the scene, you'll be teleported to a different weird-looking area that's actually very similar to areas earlier on. Now, there's a bunch of soldiers that are going to try to swipe you, but you just want to head north from here. Once you arrive back at this locale, just head south into the previous throne room area, and another scene will initiate. Head north back into the Kefin control room, and now a staircase will appear to the right side. Follow the winding staircases downwards and enter the door at the very bottom. Time for another boss, the Jabir clone. Now this boss is pretty tough as it'll float around with crystals floating around it. When you deliver a hit, it will teleport, negating some of the attacks. It has a few different types of attacks though it will use, including an ice move that you saw earlier. With a big blue crystal in the center, it will send other shards flying straight down. It uses wave-like moves that will move in a sporadic pattern, trying to chase you down a little bit, so you want to stay and keep your distance away from them so that you'll be able to avoid these. When the crystal goes red, fireballs will start raining down from the sky, so just try to get far away from him again to avoid these attacks. It can be tough to hit him a lot of times because he moves and teleports so quickly before you're able to even get an attack in a lot of times. If the crystal goes dark, it'll send out giant sickles that will be big circles trying to chase you down, similar to these smaller wave versions, just much larger. And the final move is the self-contained like explosions that'll appear in a small corner or center of the room, and you can easily move out of the way of these to avoid getting hit. Once this boss has been defeated, our health of course will replenish and we can head north into the next room. Here we have freed all the people that have been enslaved, and we go north and it's time for the final boss fight of the game. The final boss battle takes place on a giant galactic battlefield. This fight can be pretty challenging, of course, and being the final fight, it should be. Basically, just like some of the similar bosses that we fought like this, there are two glowing orbs that start off chasing you down. They will change color when you're getting ready to attack, so when you see them go blue, step a couple of feet away from them so that you'll be able to dodge the projectile that's going to come your way. Also, the giant creature itself will send down a giant ball that will create a black hole, and it'll try to suck you in towards it, so you want to be sure to run away from that. Another big move will be these giant projectiles that will start appearing at different spots and try to charge towards you. Just move in and out, keep your distance as far as you can from them to give you just that brief second so that you can avoid out of the way. It'll take a bit, but once you have defeated both of those floating orbs towards you, head to the top part of the screen. There's now two different style of orbs here. Start attacking either one of them and defeat both of them before we get ready to take out the final boss himself. For the final boss, you will have to jump and attack him, and he has quite a bit of health. If you have leveled up a bit more than I have at this point in the game, you should be doing actually between 200 and 400 damage hit points during this. But since, of course, I went in this with a minimal aspect, I won't be doing quite nearly as much damage. After a while, he will cause another one of those orbs to spawn, so take that out quickly, and of course be sure to run away from any of the black holes he ends up causing. The biggest threat, of course, is the big lasers that come your way. Remember, you can also use any of the items, potions that we've picked up throughout the game in order to replenish health in case you end up getting low. What ends up making this battle, though, of course, like I said, so long, is just because I'm not doing a ton of damage to him. But, even at my lower level, I'm still able to maintain my health up relatively high, especially with the armor and equipment we have equipped, and you can defend a little bit against his attacks in order to bring down some of that damage. It will be a pretty lengthy fight, but once you're able to deliver the final blow to the boss, you can sit back and enjoy the ending to Ys 5, which also happens to be one of the longest endings on the Super Famicom. So there you have it, the ending to Ys 5 for the Super Famicom. Ys 5 is definitely one of the easiest games in the entire Ys series. However, I still think that while there was a lot of changes, and I'm not sure how well received overall Ys 5 was, I still find that it's a very cool entry in the series. The changes they made, while they may not have kept all of them, were definitely interesting and added a new element to the game. The magic system being a little bit different and collecting different elements to do some alchemy was a pretty fun aspect, though overall the sword still gets the job done quite well. Unfortunately, the more challenging Ys 5 Expert, which was released a handful of months after this version of the game, has not been fan-translated yet. There were some other things added to that version, not only just an increase in difficulty, they fixed a few game glitches in it, as well as added a final extra dungeon to the game as well. Unlike many of the other Ys titles, the game did not receive ports on other systems. Many games previous to this, like even Ys 4, was made for not only a Super Famicom, but there was also a TurboGrafx version. Though those versions were vastly different from one another, it still allowed others to play the story of Ys 4. However, Ys 5 was not released on any other consoles at that point, but was later remade for the PlayStation 2. Now, at the making of this video, a new version of Ys 5 has not been made yet, but with the release of a remake for Ys 4 for the PlayStation Vita, there's a good chance that Falcom may revisit and actually release a new version of Ys 5 in the future. If you're wondering, the PS2 version, while it uses a similar engine to some of the other Ys titles that were remade for the PS2, is also considered the kind of final definitive version of Ys 5, at least up to this point. And at the end, we get to see our hero Adol, some nice beautiful scenery in the background, and the word Finn to end it all. And with that, that's going to wrap up this edition of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.